So we pretty much woke up to two heartbreaking incidents, one in America and one in London. I'm pretty sure that most of you guys know what we're talking about.
Sure, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the last terrorist attack in London, and looking at the time of when your video came out, I would say the shooting of the congressman playing baseball. That's what you've got to be talking about, right? Those are heartbreaking.
The one here in America actually happened last night, Sunday.
Not even 24 hours ago.
Not even 24 hours, you're right. And it was of a group of girls who were praying at a mosque and then decided to have some breakfast, as, you know, most of us Muslims do. You know, what we do, we stay up eating because of Ramadan.
Clearly, you're not talking about the terrorist attacks. Since you're bringing up the really, really sad story of the Muslim girl who was killed, I'm going to guess that the London incident is from the man who ran over people leaving a mosque in London. Those two are very heartbreaking for you, apparently. Yet, looking through your videos, not once do I see anything about how heartbreaking it was for the killing of the gay people down in Florida at the Pulse nightclub, or the people getting run over in various places across the world, or anything else that's happened. The kids being blown apart and severely injured at a concert. That wasn't heartbreaking to you, because throughout your entire list of videos, there is nothing stating as much. But these two incidences, they're heartbreaking. For you, not the other incidences, right?
They were faced by a guy, I'm not sure what ethnicity he is, it doesn't really matter.
So the attacker of the 17-year-old Muslim girl, you don't really think that his race, ethnicity matters. It actually does. What you need to realize is he wasn't even American. He was an illegal alien. He's Hispanic, just like you.
But it was a young man that started insulting this group of girls. Some of the girls got away, and unfortunately this guy took one of the girls that was in the group, put her in his car, and a few hours later they found her dead. 17-year-old girl.
He had like a bat or something that
he pretty much brutally killed her with a metal bat.
Okay, so he, quote, pretty much brutally killed her with a metal bat, end quote. What about the brutal killings of the people who were getting run over on London Bridge, and then those Muslims jumped out of the van and started slicing people's throats and stabbing them? That's not brutal? What about the Manchester concert bombing? That's not brutal? There's plenty of brutalness going on when it comes to Islam. But you just want to cherry pick when it happens to you. Because, again, there is nothing throughout your entire video channel of you saying anything when it's the other way around, which is quite often.
Prayer goes out to the family and to every family that's going through stuff like that.
And to every Muslim family.
To every Muslim family, your prayers are going out. What about the non-Muslims? Did your prayers go out to those children who were caught in the Manchester bombing? How about to the people on London Bridge? How about to the people in Paris?
You can't help but fear, people, everyone.
You can't help but fear people, everyone. You do realize where the majority of terror that is happening throughout this entire globe, where it's really coming from, right? But you're the one who needs to fear everyone.
Like when you go out, you can't help but fear, when someone's staring at you, oh, what are they thinking about you? Especially us hijabis, you can't.
You're like a target for racism in a way.
You're a target for racism in a way. Again, do you know where the majority of terror that happens in this world, where it is stemming from?
The other thing that kind of angered me is when I'm reading about this story, first they're saying, oh, we're not going to rule this a hate crime yet. This is not a terrorist attack yet. We don't know what happened in this event. There's so much justification in this article showing that everything that led to the murder of this girl, they don't know what it is yet.
You just got done saying that the murder of the 17-year-old Muslim girl was less than 24 hours ago. And now you're complaining that they're not calling it a hate crime, not calling it terrorism, and they don't know what happened. Can you let the investigation get to a 24-hour period? Apparently not.
It's like the murder is the light thing of this article, which is driving me nuts because regardless of what happened...
The murder is the light thing in the article? The murder is the entire reason for the articles, because she was murdered. Nobody is taking her murder lightly. Now, when the stories first started coming out about this, they didn't give a race, they didn't give ethnicity, they didn't give religion, they didn't give anything about the suspect. But it didn't take too long for the reports to actually come out, begrudgingly, I might add, and admit that this is an illegal alien. Another one, illegally here and breaking the law. As if they didn't break the law to be here in the first place, because they did. But now he's committed murder, and Lord knows what else he's committed.
The end result was the murder of this young girl, the 17-year-old girl.
It's not the end result of it all. Was this guy hanging out in sanctuary cities and counties? Where was he this entire time that he was illegally here? There are a lot more questions that need to be answered now. And just because you say the end result is the murder, it's not, and you know that.
Oh, but God forbid that it was flipped the other way around. God forbid that happens.
Can you imagine the headlines if that would ever happen? Because, the media and the rest of the world is just racist against all Muslims, right? This is where you're going to go now. Because you're having an outrage. God forbid it's flipped the other way around. Let's see how you spin this, honey. Let's see.
God forbid there was a Muslim man.
What's the deal with the quotation marks?
Who, went and attacked a couple of people who were not Muslim of the same faith, that were white or black or Hispanic. God forbid that happened, because then in 2 seconds he's labeled as a terrorist.
Okay, first of all, it's not a rare thing for Muslims to go around blowing people up, tossing them off of cliffs, tossing them from the tall buildings, beating women in the streets, you name it. It's not a rare occurrence. So it's not just a couple of people, as you want to put it. How about 9/11? Again, how about the Pulse nightclub? That was more than a couple people. If you look at the legal definition of terrorism, and you understand that Islam demands everyone submit to it, and that it is, in fact, a political system set up as a religion.
In 2 seconds, the entire thing, there's no investigation, he's not mentally ill, he's not mentally sick.
There's no investigation? Are you serious? What about the ones who, suicide themselves? How do we know who they are? We just happen to know every single Muslim? Because there is an investigation. Again, you're complaining about something that happened to the 17-year-old girl less than 24 hours ago. Well, guess what? We know it's a terrorist attack, especially when ISIS or one of the other terrorist groups take recognition for it when they claim it was theirs. Then we definitely know it's a terrorist, don't we?
He is a terrorist.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we living in? What the news does such a great job to portray us as terrible people.
Whoa, the news does such a great job portraying you as terrible people. I don't know what news you're looking at. Here in America, the majority of the news is kissing your Islamic butt. I can flip on any channel right now, and if they're talking about Islam, it's a religion of peace. Islam is 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 a religion of peace. That's all I get from my news. I actually have to do investigations myself to get to the facts. But you're going to blame the media. Don't blame those terrorists, though, for giving you a bad name.
No, I'm with you.
And if one Muslim person was to do, a hate crime, then all of a sudden, all of us Muslims, we condone that.
And it's not,
we agreed for that to happen.
You condone it by not condemning it. See, that's how it works. Because this is a daily occurrence of Muslims terrorizing people throughout the world. It's daily. And I'm talking multiple times a day. Not just one guy attacked one person over here one day. And then the next year, one guy did it over here. No, this is multiple times a day that people are being terrorized by Islamic terrorists. Funny thing, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all Islamic terrorists are Muslim. Think about that one.
It's not that we're justifying that. When it's coming from the other side against a Muslim, that's always what I read.
Oh, so what you read, again, I don't know what you're reading, but when it's the other side coming against a Muslim, it's basically okay. They deserved it, I guess, because all Muslims are terrorists. That's where you're going with this, right? Instead of condemning Muslims who are being terrorists, who are fighting with terrorists, who are joining terrorist groups, you're not going to lay any blame on them, are you? Nope, it's the media and us racist folks.
The guy in London, right? So pretty much this guy was in a van, wasn't Muslim, was smoking a cigarette, said, I want to kill these Muslims.
Okay, so I really like your narrative. This guy in London smoking a cigarette saying, I want to kill these Muslims. And then what? It just happened all of a sudden. This wasn't planned or anything, right? See, that makes it kind of not a terrorist attack. Terrorist attacks are planned. Do you see the difference yet?
They're outside the masjid and he's like running him down, killed from last,
with his car.
Yeah, with his car, with his van. He ran him down and then, they got him out. The cops came and took him. But like the headlines I read about that, which is honestly disgusting, was, oh, we got to take this guy right away to get him mentally, or to get him checked out to see if he's mentally there. There's no way he could be fully functioning right.
I love how you are appalled that this man ran people over with his car. Wasn't there a van in London recently that did the same thing, and the group of Muslims that were in the van then jumped out and started slicing people's throats and stabbing them?
This can't be a hate crime.
This is not a hate crime.
And the thing is, again, I'm not justifying the action. Like, of bad is bad, I get that. But when it's someone else, like from a Muslim faith or something that does something, it's always Islamic terrorism.
The reason it's always Islamic terrorism when it's a Muslim is because they're yelling Allahu Akbar, and because they are justifying their actions with the Quran and the Hadith and the Imams and the various terrorist groups. That's why it's terrorism. It's not a random frickin' act. It's happening every day throughout the world.
I'm not justifying, again. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is the headlines reads so wrong.
If a headline reads, Islamic terrorist bombs Manchester concert, how is that wrong? We know who took responsibility for it. We know that the people involved were all Muslims. How is it wrong? This was clearly planned out, not just a spur-of-the-moment type of thing. It wasn't random. Oh, and also that same day, 2 Chinese people in Pakistan who were there teaching Chinese, they've been kidnapped. I haven't been able to get any updates thus far to find out if they've been found, killed, freed. I don't know what happened to them. Also, the same day, probably about 2 hours after the bombing in Manchester, the Philippines, and I'm probably going to say this Islamic terrorist group's name wrong, but I'm going to spell it for you as well. Maute, M-A-U-T-E. There was actual gunfire between Maute and the police. This isn't random. Islamists are on a mission to control the entire globe.
And it misleads so many people, and it gets into people's brain, and it's wired that they think as soon as they hear the word terrorism, or if someone does a terrorist attack, it's automatically Muslim, Islamic. How come we can't just say about the Muslim guy doing a terrorist attack, oh, it's just a guy from such and such area here did this?
All terrorist attacks are not Islamic. However, the majority of terrorist attacks are Muslim, and they are doing it multiple times a day throughout the world.
Why do they have to put religion
why
in
do you
it?
have to put the religion?
Why?
There's nothing in the religion that justifies that,
Can
and
you
that's what
explain to me
angers
which
me.
religion allows any person to be killed?
Okay, first of all, the reason they put religion in it is because the terrorists put religion in it. Now you're going to say that your religion doesn't permit the killing of people. You're wrong. You need to go read your books.
None.
That's funny you said none. You need to read your book.
Like, can you please, like, educate yourself before you say stupid shit that makes no sense?
Right back at you, sweetie. Right back at you. You know what your Quran says. You know what the Hadiths say. You know what the Imams are teaching.
Like, I'm so fed up. I always want to, like, talk about Islam and
It's okay. It's okay, man. Stop. You're good. Something good to you.
like, how many times do I have to sit down and explain that?
It's okay.
It's not okay because people believe this shit.
Okay.
It's hurtful. It's not right. Like, how many times do you have to explain the same thing over and over again for people to understand that hate is hate and it's wrong in every religion?
Not according to Allah via the Quran.
How do you have, like, I can't. Like, sometimes I go crazy.
Oh, please don't go crazy. Please don't do that.
Like, it's not right that people believe this shit. It's not right. It's not fair.
It is right that people believe this shit because people are acting upon what is in the Quran. It wasn't fair that little girls went to a concert and got blown up.
People say you're such a wonderful girl. It's such a shame that you're Muslim.
Well, if they know the Quran and know how Islam views women, yeah, I would say the same thing. It's a shame you're Muslim. You don't understand that the Quran is fully enforced in Saudi Arabia. The women cannot drive. They have to be fully covered. You think you're going to get away with wearing your hijab like that and all that blown up makeup and all that colorful clothing that you have? Honey, do not go to Saudi Arabia or any other place where the Quran is fully implemented.
Well, what about me makes me wonderful if it's not my faith? And the only reason I am the way I am, and I was taught to be this way, is because of my religion. It's my faith, and that's what I hold on to. It really, like, it.
Yeah, and let me piggyback up what you're saying. Everything you're saying is right, and it drives us all crazy because every time we go out, every time we do anything, anytime anything happens, we always have to justify ourselves, our belief.
That's because we are continually being told Islam is a religion of peace, but the evidence says otherwise. So if you're there and you're letting people know that you're Muslim, which it's going to be kind of hard for her not to let people know based on what she's wearing, people are going to ask you.
If we're around people and something in the news happens, we have to kind of automatically explain, oh, well, that's not us. That's just a group of people. Trust me, that's not us. That's not what we believe in.
Okay, so you feel like you have to instantly start telling people, oh, that's not us. That's a different group of people. But guess what you have in common? Islam.
We're always having to explain ourselves and always play defense, like to defend ourselves.
And that's what you will have to do until Islam actually becomes a religion of peace.
But why is that? We're over 1.5 billion Muslims, almost close to 1.6 billion Muslims. If all of us are bad human beings, all we want to do is chaos and cause trouble, trust me, there will be a lot more than just these cases that fly around.
Okay, again, nobody is saying all Muslims are terrorists. Nobody's saying that. Now, considering that let's just round it off to 1.6 billion. You're clearly not a minority, are you? It's estimated that anywhere from 15 to 25% of Muslims are, quote, radicalized or extremists. Do you know how many that is? Just 15% of 1.6 billion is 240 million. That's a lot of people. That's more than half of the American population. Now let's look at 25% of 1.6 billion. That's 400 million. That's more people than there are in America. Are you getting the picture yet? It's not small when you look at the actual numbers. Let's take a look at these cases that just fly around. You make it sound like it's random. Let's take a look at this. This is a map that includes every terrorist attack that has been recorded thus far just for 2017. Let's take a look at this.
I'm talking about 1.5 billion Muslims around the world, the second largest religion in the world.
Exactly, 1.6 billion. You're not a minority, are you?
You're telling me that they're all horrible, or are we really just focusing on maybe like a milli of them and just kind of leaving all the good? Because that's what does sell headlines, right?
The number that we're focusing on, it's not a million. It's 240 million minimum. Again, I don't know what newspapers you're reading or what TV shows you're watching, but the majority of them are kissing Islam's butt.
Why would they want to show you that my neighbor in Egypt is a Christian and I'm a Muslim and there's a church and there's a masjid and we both get with each other for their holidays, for our holidays?
Egypt is pretty moderate, especially when you compare it to Saudi Arabia or any other 100% Quran, Sharia law run nations.
Why would they show you us getting up close with each other, being nice with each other, shaking each other's hands? Why would they show you that? Because they don't want to. Because no one really, unfortunately, on that scale cares about good. They want to always focus on the bad, bad, bad. Go watch some news and tell me if you find anything very positive.
You're just going to keep blaming media, aren't you? Instead of the 240 million Muslims who are running around, beheading people, slicing throats, kidnapping little girls, putting women and little girls into sex slavery. Yes, it's a very real thing today, along with these suicide bombers and everything else that they're doing. Don't blame them, blame the media. Oh, and us racists. Because, you know, Islam is a religion of race, apparently.
You rarely would. Overall, like our heart goes to any victim that goes through this stuff. Racism still exists. It really does. I know.
Stereotyping.
Yeah, stereotype, racism, being a minority, all this stuff exists. We just have to speak up about it.
Oh, God. Okay, racism, yeah, it exists, but it's not in the way that you're putting it, especially when it comes to Islam. Islam is not a race. Stereotyping. Yeah, people stereotype. That's not always a bad thing. And then you have the gall to say you're a minority. 1.6 billion is not a minority.
Literally, united we stand, divided we fall. That's just the message. That's as simple as it gets.
If that's the real message of Islam, you really need to get in contact with a number of imams, all of the terrorist groups, all of the members of the terrorist groups, and make sure they get that message very clear.
We just got to get more and more closer. We have to grow with each other. We have to stand with each other.
You might want to tell that to the Somalis that are basically taking over Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're not assimilating. They want Sharia law. They do not want to have anything to do with non-Muslims.
If you are ever faced with a person, and this has happened to me, I'm just not giving this advice for no reason. People have attacked me and my faith and said the nastiest things that you can think of.
So you've been attacked. I'm going to guess that the attack was verbal, not physical, verbal. And you're not even giving any suggestions of what was actually said. Just nasty, mean things. They just said nasty, mean things to me.
And I could have defended myself, and I could have said something back at that person. But I chose not to, because regardless of what I said, they were not going to listen to me. Regardless of what I said back to them, I could have been rude, I could have been nasty, or I could have been kind. And regardless of anything I would have said at that moment, they wouldn't have listened.
You're right. People don't want to listen to you, especially if they've made up their mind. Now let's flip it, as you put it. Do you think that the imams who are spewing hate towards non-Muslims, do you think that the Islamic terrorist groups are going to listen to anyone? No, especially if the message is coming from a non-Muslim. This is why this is a Muslim problem. You're Muslim. You need to tell them these things instead of blaming the media. You need to focus on the actual problem. This is a Muslim problem. They're not going to listen to non-Muslims. They might listen to other Muslims, but guess what? They probably won't listen to you either because in their opinion, based on what's in the Quran, you're not a real Muslim.
So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do a U-turn and go the other way. And alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that's what this video is basically about. Ha blah blah media, ha blah blah racist, blah blah blah. Islam is a religion of peace, blah blah blah. Not all Muslims, just a small few people. No, 15 to 25%, which means a minimum of 240 million terrorists roaming around this globe.
The 2 times that happened to me, the person didn't follow me or anything. Alhamdulillah.
So people were mean to you twice. You're a lucky, lucky girl, because I've had people be mean to me more than twice in one day. But guess what? It's something I learned how to deal with when I was a child, because kids are mean too, not just grown-ups. I am wondering this, though. Have you ever denounced Hezbollah? Because they are tied to Boko Haram. You surely must remember. Bring back our girls. Do you even know that a number of those girls ended up pregnant, which means they were put into sex slavery? Why do you not defend the women and girls and little boys in these other countries? You know, the Islamic ones. Why do you turn a blind eye to that?
But I'm just saying this to say that if you're ever faced in a situation where someone is saying something to you and being rude to you, or maybe to a person that's next to you, please be smart. Be smart enough to know that the person that's attacking you doesn't want to listen to anything that you're saying. They just want to hurt you. So don't give them that time. Don't give them that pleasure of seeing you angry. So how about you just turn around and keep walking and ignore them? Because that's the only way that inshallah it's going to just go away.
We have been walking away. We have been turning a blind eye. We have been tolerant. And look where it's gotten us. Terrorists in the Western world, everywhere, they are coming in droves. You need to stand up and defend yourself. What you just said, it sounds like what the leaders in the Western societies are telling their people. Be peaceful towards them. Show them tolerance. It's our tolerance that's going to be the death of us. Do you understand that? Because they're not tolerant. Muslims, on the whole, for the most part, are not tolerant. Go look at the Pew Research studies. The majority wouldn't tell on a fellow Muslim if they knew they were radicalized. The majority want Sharia law. Do you even comprehend what that means? Your voice would only be worth half of that of your husband's.
But if you try to say something back or you try to be slick, 9 out of 10, the situation is not going to go good.
It's not going to go good, and you know what else? We're always going to be the one blamed.
You're always going to be the ones blamed. Again, I don't know what media you're into, but instantly after something happens, some terrorist attack, whether it's by car, by knife, by planes, by trains, by bombs, whatever it is, instantly on the media I'm surrounded with. That includes me watching media from France, Germany, UK. It's instantly spun to Islam is a religion of peace. So how are you always being blamed?
I just want to talk to my girls, especially the younger girls who just started wearing hijab or have been wearing hijab and get scared every time something this crazy happens around the world.
Oh, you just came up with 2 instances of Muslims being attacked. There were more than 2 instances yesterday of where Muslims were doing the attacking.
Please don't get discouraged to wear your hijab, and please don't be ashamed of your religion, because we're strong women and Allah doesn't give us anything that we cannot handle.
Allah doesn't give anything more than what you can handle. Let's see how this worked out for some other Muslims.
Hej, I snakker med Sejlum Lund Jensen. Jeg vil egentlig bare gerne fortælle en oplevelse til mig og min muskel, hun har haft os her til eftermiddag. Vi var ude at gå, som vi sjovt nok altid plejer at gøre. Og så skulle vi ned til den store sø, fordi det er så godt vejr. Og vi skal ud og lege, og græsset skal have lov til at lege i søen. Der sker så det, at der kommer 4 gutter hen, og først spørger ind til min hund. Hvor efterfølgende de begynder at sparke ud efter ham. Hvilket jeg bliver rigtig tosset over. Og vi kommer op og diskuterer. Og så sker der det, at de begynder at kaste sten efter os. Og jeg kan sgu ikke helt præcis huske, hvad der så selv er sket, men lige pludselig så står de flere mennesker og river fat i mig. Og som I kan se, jeg ved ikke, om man kan se det, men har begyndt bare at smadre mig ned i jorden. Og begyndt at sparke til mig og rulle mig rundt, og så kastede de mig ud i søen. Så nu står jeg her drivvåd med en hund, der skal til dyrlægen, fordi han er skide bange, og han blev ramt med en sten. Og jeg synes simpelthen, det er for dårligt, at man skal sådan noget her igennem, bare fordi man har en hund, som folk ikke kan lide. Hvis I ikke kan lide min hund, så lad være med at komme hen til os.
Life for gays in the Muslim world is difficult as it is, but in the areas where ISIS rules, the retribution is beyond cruel.
These stills, dated March 2015, purport to show a man being thrown from a building. According to the last caption, he was also then stoned to death, his alleged crime being gay. This series as well, from January, show an older man seated in a chair and then tumbling to the ground. Also in January, these from ISIS in Mosul, 2 men murdered in the same manner. In all the photographs, dozens of people are seen watching the killings, seemingly unfazed. Nor, a gay Syrian man says, that makes the atrocious act even more nauseating.
And their facial expressions are really scary because they are not even scared of what's going on. They may be a little bit excited or maybe happy to get rid of homosexuals in the city.
He made a very absurd joke about he was so amused and he has so much fun watching homosexual, and he say now gay men can fly.
The stoning of Soraya M is based on the true story of a woman brutally killed after being falsely accused of adultery. Soraya is stoned to death in her Iranian village under Islamic Sharia law. Iran has executed more than 100 people this year.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا فيكم، وأنا أشكر مختار الشرفي والأستاذة أمل، وأنا أشكر كل الصحفيين وأشكركم أنتم. فأنا صح إنني هربت من أهلي، صح أنا ما عاد أشتيش عندهم، خلاص أنا أشتي أعيش عند عمي. إيش براءة الطفولة؟ إيش ذنب الأطفال من تتزوجوهم كذا؟ يعني مثلا أنا بحل مشكلتي، صح؟ بس بعض الأطفال براءتهم ما يحلوش مشكلتهم، يمكن يموتوا، يمكن ينتحروا، يمكن يفعلوا اللي براسهم، لأنهم أطفال ما يدروش بحاجة، يعني عندهم ما تعلموش ولا درسوا ولا حاجة. يعني إيش ذنبنا إحنا؟ مش الوحيدة أنا، يمكن كل الأطفال. في ناس كثير، بعض الأطفال يعني دبزوا بنفسهم في البحر، ما عاد باقي. يعني إيش البراءة هذه؟ هذه ما إيش براءة. صح انني انا هربت من عند عمي ما كانش موجود، فاني اتصلت لعبد الجبار يجيبني، وعبد الجبار جاب لي بنت وسافرت انا اياها للحديده، وعمي لما عرف بالموضوع اجاني. وكمان امي بلغت علينا الشرطه، انا عمري 11 سنه وتشتي تزوجني. يعني يعني ما فيش حياة، ما فيش تعليم، ما فيش قوة، ما فيش بين قلبهم رحمة. إيش هذه التربية معهم؟ الموت أرحم لي، إنني أموت ولا أبقى. أنا أفضل أن أكون عند عمي ولا أفضل عندهم يقتلوني، يهددوني، يقولوا لي إذا رحت عند عمك بنقتلك. يعني إيش هذا؟ إيش تهديد؟ يهددوا الأطفال. يرضيكم زيي أنا كذا؟ ها يزوجوني؟ يرضيكم؟ وكمان أنا عادي، القتل عندي عادي، ولا أعيش عندهم ولا أعيش عندهم. قتلوا أحلامنا، قتلوا كل شيء اللي فينا، يعني مع باقي. هذه ما هي عاد تربية، هذه قدرناها إجرام. خالتي وهي خالتي عمرها 13 سنة، فعلت سنة مع زوجها وقبت الغاز وتروشت به وماتت. يعني كان يشل الحدايد هو يسكر وبينه مرض وبينه كل شيء. يعني يرضيكم انه يعني نتزوج؟ يرضيكم؟ يا أم اقنعي مني، يا أهلي اقنعوني، أنا ما اشتيكمش، خلاص دمرتوا أحلامي كلها، دمرتوها.
Farkhunda Malikzada is 27 and a student of Islam. She's being accused of burning a Quran. It's a grave accusation. The video you're watching is made entirely from raw cell phone clips, recorded and shared by the onlookers and by the attackers themselves. Farkhunda falls for the first time and screams, echoing the words of her attackers. Video continues, capturing quick glimpses of faces. A frame here, a frame there. Worshippers have joined in, some beggars and pilgrims who have been known to frequent the shrine. Police fire into the air. For a moment, they're able to shield Farkhunda, who's in the background, and remarkably, still conscious. Men plead to the officers. One puts his hands on a policeman's beard. "Brother, let us have her." The crowd grows. The mob storms the shrine. Sensing the urgency, 2 police officers pull Farkhunda atop a nearby shed. An officer below props her up. Down the other side is a possible, and maybe only, path of escape. Farkhunda realizes her hijab is off. Men climb for a better view. Children's voices are heard. The message: defend Islam. Don't be an infidel. The police watch. The news is shouted. The blasphemer has been killed.
Alright guys, and that is all for today. We went on a rant.
Yeah, it was honestly,
and we got emotional.
We were down, man. We were just down all day. Like, you know, even when I was at work and, you know, people were talking about it, it's just sad, man. It's just sad in general. Life needs to be worth more, you know?
Yeah.
But, what do you do?
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and
Yeah. And
please, let's encourage each other, especially in the comment section when you see a troll or someone that's less than smart.
Someone that's less than smart?
Please do not engage with them. Do not waste your time talking to people who don't know anything and just want to
troll.
What if I got on and made a comment knowing what the Quran says? I guess somehow, once again, miraculously, I would end up with the wrongly translated Quran. I don't know how this always happens to people. It's amazing how many wrongly translated Qurans there are out there. It's shocking.